What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to talk about chess.com and specifically the features that I use most when I play on there. Now, I'm not going to cover everything that the site has. That would take too long. I'm just going to focus on, like I said, my favorites and the things that I use most often that I think are most beneficial to new players who are trying to learn. Let's get right into it. Okay, so I went to my profile and I'm going to scroll down and you've got your daily games and then you've got completed games. And so you can click on these. I'm just going to click on my most recent game here, and it pops up the analysis tab, which I think most of you guys are familiar with. It's going to analyze the game, and it's also going to give you a game report. So the game report, I think most of you guys are familiar with, but this is just a kind of a snapshot of how well did you play the game. If you have a higher score, it means you probably played more accurate that game, and if you have a lower score, you probably didn't. Now, one thing that I want to point out, sometimes when you're playing games, like for example, if you're playing a London system where it's like, okay, all the moves are pretty much straightforward, and maybe you play that, your opponent blunders immediately out of the opening and then just resigns, you're going to have an extremely high score because you probably played pretty much every move correctly, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you played some brilliant game or it was like the best game of your life. And the other side of that is maybe you played a King's Gambit and it got really crazy and really wild and there was lots of tactics, and maybe you played a really good game but you had a low score because you missed quite a few moves that the computer would have played differently, right? It doesn't really mean that you played such a bad game. So don't get too hung up on this number. But I like to use it as more of over time. If you're consistently seeing a certain number, then that's probably a good, a good idea of where you're at. So you've got these different categories: brilliant moves, best moves, excellent moves. I didn't even realize I had a brilliant move in this game. I'll have to look at that maybe in a second. But and as you go down, you got your blunders and your missed wins. Now, most of the time, I don't really pay attention to the inaccuracies and the mistakes sometimes. Usually what I'm looking for are blunders and missed wins. And that's because sometimes the computer will say, you made a mistake or you made an inaccuracy, but it's really hard to tell why. And most of the time, those aren't going to be really good learning opportunities for you. Blunders and missed wins are pretty much always there's going to be something where it's like, oh yeah, I should have seen that coming, or I shouldn't have done that for whatever reason. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. You can obviously just kind of click through one move at a time and go through the game, and it shows you the little symbols and you can just look for the blunders that way. If that's too time consuming or you don't want to do that, you can also click on key moments and it'll just kind of go automatically for you, and it'll stop where it thinks something important happened. So like right here, bishop f5 was my last book move. Okay, great. And then you can go to the next and it'll play through. And let's see when the next key moment. Well, it looks like we both played some really good moves here. And then, okay, my first mistake. And, here's a good example of like, this was a mistake, but this was an intentional sacrifice. Let me move my head back again. This was an intentional sacrifice. I wanted to sacrifice my bishop here to try to open up the king. So even though it was technically not the best move, I wanted to do that. So that's why the key moments aren't always the greatest. And then we go through the game and you can see it'll get to the next part. This is actually a pretty nice game. We didn't make a lot of mistakes here. Okay, game changer, rook takes d4 is best. The thing about the key moments is what I found, sometimes they're helpful and sometimes it's like, okay, I mean, like what was so special about this? Like we traded knights, I took the knight, and yet it's saying it's a game changer. It is kind of just a normal move. So that's why I don't tend to use the key moments as much. I mostly just like to check out the blunders, but it's up to you. You can do it this way and you'll get to the blunders. So here, this is where I would, stop and really try to figure out, okay, what did I do wrong? Why was this a blunder? What was I supposed to play? And so there's a best button. You just click on the best and it shows you, oh, the best move was actually king to e6. And so it looks like, king to e6 was so much better because I keep the king out from getting to my pawns, right? What I did was allow black to get these 3 pawns. Turned out to be a big mistake. I thought I was going to be able to win just by getting this and pushing this. But I should have actually held on to these pawns and I would have had a much better chance. So that was a big blunder on my part. And I think you guys kind of get the idea. Pay attention to the blunders, the missed wins, and really try to understand the why behind what you did wrong. Okay, so the next tab here is the analysis tab. Now, when you click on that, it basically just turns on the engine. And you can see the lines that the engine is recommending. So you got the top move, you got the second move, you got the third move. You can actually change this. So there's a little gear. You can't quite see it. Let me slide this over. There you go. There's a little gear up here. You can click on this And then if you don't want to see that many lines, so here self-analysis lines, you can kind of see it. My face is in the way a little bit. Let me move my face again. Here, self-analysis lines, you can change that to however many you want to see. So if you only care about the top 2, you can change it to 2. And now you can see it only shows me 2 moves. I like to have a few more, but if you go like 4 or 5, it's probably a bit too much. So I like to kind of keep it at usually 2 or 3. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. The other thing here, if you don't like seeing these symbols as you go through the game, like right now it's showing me best move, you know, blunder, whatever, you can just click self-analysis and that won't be on. And so it's a little bit cleaner. You can just kind of follow the game this way. If you're brand new, I would say you probably want to leave that on. But for me, I don't really like that. I kind of just like to look at the evaluation myself and determine if something was a blunder or not. And so I'm going through it. I'm like, okay, I'm up 5. Oh, and all of a sudden I'm only up maybe 2. So that was a big blunder. So I'm going to go and see that. But it's up to you what you want to do there. If you're, sometimes when I'm recording and I don't want to show the engine, you can turn that off by clicking the show lines there and it'll disable it. Normally when you're analyzing your game, you want that on. Next tab is detailed. I really don't use that a lot. It just shows you details of the game, which you probably already know most of that stuff. So I don't really find that very useful. Openings. If you want, you can go here, click on it, and it will take you right to, let me move my head again. It'll take you right to the opening page and kind of give you a little blurb about what opening did we play. And you've got the little explorer here. You can see the different options, how often they're played, what the win percentages are. If that's, you know, interesting to you, you can do that. I don't use that a lot. Usually if I'm going to study openings, I'm just going to go straight through the opening explorer and go that way, but you can get to it from the game as well. All right, the next thing I want to show you that I use from time to time is the download button. So if you come over here and it's this one right here, if you click on that, it's going to pop up this this pop-up here. And first thing that you want to do is probably just check annotation. Now, if you leave it on computer analysis, I'll scroll down here and show you. See how it has some of this random stuff in here like mistake, right there, mistake, and you know, the best move was and critical move. All these things are part of the computer analysis. If I check on annotation, notice how those are gone and now it's just going to be the moves. So depending on what program you're going to be putting the game into later, you may want to change those. Now, I would recommend probably just annotation is good enough for most people. Now, I can actually put computer analysis and open it up in like ChessBase, which is my separate program, and it's able to understand those little, you know, mistake and those extra things. But if you're like, for example, if you want to just pull it up in Lichess, maybe you like to analyze in Lichess for some reason, or you want to show someone in Lichess or something, then I think you have to just do annotation or it'll get confused and not open it if you leave that computer analysis on. Anyway, it's really not as confusing as I'm making it out to be. Just go for the annotation, click download, and it's going to download it to your computer as this .pgn file. And then if I wanted to go to Lichess or, like I said, some other chess program, ChessBase or whatever, I can import that game and view it on there. So that's an easy way to, if you want to save a game from chess.com on another platform or on your own personal chess software, that's how you would do it. All right, the next one that's really useful is this one right here, add to library. So if you click on that, it basically, you can create a new collection. So these are just going to store games. You can give it a name. You can see I have all these different ones that I've created. And if you want, you just click the plus button. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want this game added, but you click the plus button and it will add it to one of your collections. And then if you go back over here to play, and actually I don't know if you can see that. Let me move this over a little bit. All right, and then once you've added that, you can click on play, go down to library, and it's going to open up all of your collections. So if you've added any games in there, so for example, like this one, WoW games, let's just say, okay, I can go and see these games. I can just click on it. It gives me a little preview. I can even, you know, flip through the game right on here. If I want, I can go down, see the next one very quickly, just, you know, see what happened. So this is pretty handy, and there's a couple of ways that you can use this. Number one would be games that you're proud of. So if you had a really nice sacrifice or a really cool checkmate, or, you know, you just played really well, or you beat a high-rated opponent for the first time, or whatever, something that you're proud of, you know, create a collection and save those games. And then you can very easily go back later and be like, oh yeah, I played this game and whatever. So that's one way to use it. Another way would be if you're practicing a particular opening and you want to keep your, you know, certain games in a collection, you can do it that way. And you can also sort your games by opening separately, but maybe there's one in particular that's you made a mistake or you played really well. or, you know, whatever. You can kind of filter, fine tune it and filter it exactly how you want. So that's another way you can use it. Another way would be like end games. If there's a particular end game that you messed up that you want to go back and learn later, you can create, you know, a collection for end games that you need to learn, or whatever. Use your imagination. You can use it however you like, but really handy. And one other thing I'll show you while we're talking about the library is, you notice how it says my collections here. You can also click on community collections, and there's all sorts of collections. So Bobby Fischer, my 60 memorable games, all different kinds of stuff. I actually haven't gone through a lot of these, but they are here, and you can sort them by most popular and see what that's all about. Bobby Fischer's games, they're right there if you want to check those out, you know. So that's available as well. All right, one other thing I want to show you is if you go to the Learn tab and click on Explorer, it takes you to the Opening Explorer, where you can, the default, as you can see over here on the right, is set to master games. And so if I flip through these moves, like let's say E4 was played 1 million times, you can kind of follow, okay, Sicilian is the most popular at the master level, whatever. But the cool thing is you can also change this. So if you click that drop down, you can click My Games. And now everything that's populated here, let me move my face again. Everything that's populated here now is only games that I have played on chess.com. So you can see, like if we go back, reset this. There we go. I've mostly played just E4, right? I don't know why I played E3 in 61 games. That's a little weird. I played D4 a couple times, but most of the time I'm playing E4, right? And then I can see, okay, against me, the most common response that I face is the Sicilian, okay? And then I usually play knight f3, and then d6, and then I like to play bishop b5, so that's why there's the most games with bishop b5. I did play d4 a couple times, don't know why, but whatever. So if you want to see what you're facing most often, what your win percentages are in a particular opening, this would be how you would do it. You would go and play out the opening moves to whatever opening you're trying to check. So for example, against the French, how well do I do against the French? Let's see. Okay, when I play d4, I have a 55% win rate. When I play knight f3, I have a 59% win rate. Okay, that's kind of cool. I seem to do fairly well here, and you can see against c5, whatever, right? So that's, I think, pretty useful. I would definitely check that out if you haven't already. All right, and the last thing I want to mention is if you go to Learn again and you click on Videos, it will take you to this library. And over on the right, you've got it basically separated out. So you got strategy, you have tactics, you have openings, you have endgames. And you can just, let's say endgames, you can click on it, and everything is kind of nicely organized. So checkmate, let's see, queen versus rook, checkmate with the bishop and the knight, checkmate with 2 bishops. Whatever you need to learn, it's pretty easy to find it. So some people like this better than like YouTube because it's more organized. YouTube, you can probably find the same information. You're just going to have to sift through a little bit of noise to find a good video. Or you can just go to my channel and find it there. But no, this can be really nice if you like this, if you like everything all in one place. Now, I believe that the video library is only if you're like a diamond member. So that's the top membership, which I don't even remember what the price is. Let's see, membership. My face is in the way again. Yeah, $8.25 a month. So that's the most expensive level. I get that for free because I'm a titled player. But you know, if that's something that you're able to do, and unlimited video library, there it is. You know, that could be a good way to learn if you just would rather have it all there, rather, like I said, than sifting through YouTube. That's something to think about. If you are going to sign up for that, use my link in the description below, and they'll give me like a small percentage of that. If you don't want me to get any money, then don't use that link. Just go find it yourself. Yeah, but that's totally up to you. You know, you don't have to do that. That's just, some people like that better than sifting through YouTube videos, but it's whatever you want to do. I just wanted to mention that they do have quite a few videos, and they are pretty nicely organized. You can go to tactics and whatever you're looking for. There's all sorts of stuff there. They do have lots of different teachers, and so that's something that you might like or you might not like if you, depending on the personality of the person who's teaching whatever you're trying to learn. You know, it could be good or it could not be good. So that's just something to think about as well. All right, guys, well, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. If I missed something or you have a question, something that I didn't talk about, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to those when I can. Yeah, hope this helped you guys, and thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.